What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. I got a lot of stuff to talk about with you guys, so let's get started. Want to make this video really focus on Amir Khan, talk about some different things. First, I want to talk about Amir Khan versus Keith Thurman. As a fight, I love this fight. It's an excellent fight. It's a fight that would catapult the winner of it to the big paydays that they both desperately want to get. Keith Thurman kind of been the candy man. No one really calls his name out. Nobody's really stepping up. You got a lot of fading fighters like Joel Diaz and, Keith Soto Caras and Keith Thurman, things like that. Fights that fans don't really want to fucking see. Keith Thurman, we know he's strong. At the very least, we know he's strong. He has power. We want to see his chin tested. We want to see how he does against someone who's an A or B level fighter, someone who we consider money, someone, a world-class opponent, someone with some experience, big fight experience, someone who's looked on the upside in recent memory, things like that. I think Amir Khan versus Keith Thurman is an interesting, very, very interesting stylistic matchup. You got a guy like Amir Khan who has been criticized for having a shaky chin, a soft chin, glass chin, whatever you want to call it. But the man has heart. He gets back up, he comes to fight, and that whole thing. And same thing with Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman has battled some adversity. Diego Chavez fight a little bit in the very first round of Jesus Soto Caras fight. He got caught and looked like caught off guard with a long range punch that just really woke him up. So this is a good fight. Plus, I think Amir Khan versus Josesito Lopez, which they're talking about making for December, and I'm going to talk about that later in this video. It's not really a fight that is a good stepping stone to give Amir Khan the fight he desperately wants, a fight with a Pacquiao or a Mayweather. You know what I mean? It's just not good enough. And again, later in the video, I'll give you a little bit more insight. So I like Keith Thurman and Amir Khan. Good fight. You got someone with blistering hand speed, but he might have a susceptible chin. Then you got Keith Thurman, who's known to crack, but we haven't really seen him in the ring with somebody who's clearly as fast as Amir Khan or just has that blistering hand speed like a Pacquiao. So this is a good fight. I would love to see it. Recently at the Box Expo, Keith Thurman got into it with a fan who was basically saying Amir Khan would probably outbox Keith Thurman. In a nutshell, that's what he was saying. And Keith Thurman was like, he's like, oh, because the fan was basically saying Amir Khan's so fast, and Keith Thurman was being sarcastic. He was like, oh yeah, he was so fast, he got caught by Julio Diaz and knocked down. You know what I'm saying? And they're just going back and forth. It's good stuff. I'll put the link in the description in case you haven't seen the video. It's a good video, and I like that attitude about Keith Thurman. He's hungry. He's ready for the big names, and he's bouncing back from a shoulder injury. So hopefully that's all up and up. And I think this is a far better fight than Amir Khan versus Josesito Lopez. Now let's talk about Josesito Lopez and Amir Khan. Now, I give fighters credit just for lacing them up. I like Josesito Lopez as a person. You know what I mean? He seems like a tough, durable type fighter. He puts his best foot forward. The biggest thing is his best foot forward is not good enough, in my opinion, when it comes to the big names. You know what I'm saying? He had a tough time with Mike Arenadas, someone who's virtually unknown in the boxing world. And you know what I mean? Look at Josesito Lopez's biggest fights. Jesse Vargas lost that fight. Victor Ortiz, he was losing on the scorecards, and then a freak accident happened. Ortiz got his jaw broke. He stepped up with Canelo. That was way out of his league to try to fight someone as big as Canelo. That hand speed troubled him. Like I said, certain guys, in my opinion, they'll always be, they've kind of plateaued. Like, I see certain fighters, I'm like, man, this person can really grow. Like, when I look at, like, Lomachenko, he's still new to the pro game, but I see him being able to grow as a fighter. Like, as he gets more experience, learn different things, and factor that all in. You know what I'm saying? Some people have that it factor where you could see them maturing with the sport. And then there's other guys where I think at this point in their career, they're pretty much as good as they're going to be. You know what I'm saying? Guys like Jesus Soto Caras, he's pretty much a gatekeeper. Guys like Andre Berto, pretty much a gatekeeper. I don't see Andre Berto, and this is no hate for anybody. You know what I mean? Berto trains out here in the Bay and everything. It's all love. This is just my honest opinion, and that's what I give you each and every time. Andre Berto, to me, he's just at that level. He's not going to beat the top 5 at welterweight. at this point of his career. He can still make good fights, have a Victor Ortiz rematch, something like that. But I don't really see him beating the top 5, top 3 welterweights or moving up to 154 and doing good up there. It's just my personal opinion. And that's what I feel about Josesito Lopez. I think he's a good fighter. He's solid, but you put him in there with Maidana, he lost, even though he was winning. And one of the problems I noticed with Josesito Lopez is he's underrated with his ability to box. However, he doesn't box when he needs to box. Sometimes you need to brawl, sometimes you need to box. To me, Josesito Lopez lets pride get the best of him, and he doesn't really know when to turn it off or to switch from, okay, let me stop brawling because I'm losing the brawl to Canelo, or I'm losing the brawl to Maidana, and let me try boxing more. You know what I mean? And that's that ability to adapt. Floyd Mayweather has done it plenty of times. I've seen Pacquiao do it. Just when Pacquiao got a cut over his eye in the first Morales fight, after he thought he had like done away with Marquez in the first fight, and Marquez got back up. There's certain things that they do to adapt to stay in the fight, or you know what I mean, change their game plan a little bit. Pacquiao was handily losing the first half of the Timothy Bradley rematch, but he made those necessary transitions and he adapted to the point where the second half he owned it. You know what I'm saying? And I thought he convincingly beat Timothy Bradley in the rematch. So I don't really see that with a Josesito Lopez. I don't see him making the necessary adjustments. So you put him in against a speedster like Amir Khan, I don't see it being that competitive. You know what I mean? It could be. Khan has a shaky chin. It could be competitive more than I'm giving credit to. I would watch it just because both fighters have heart at the very least in his boxing. But I would definitely put my money on Amir Khan. I think he's trying to perfect his newfound style with Virgil Hunter. And I think he's too fast. He's longer, no homo. And overall just more solid than Josesito Lopez. Like I said, Josesito Lopez, he's good, he tries, but I just don't see it. You know what I'm saying? And Amir Khan, he was in very good physical shape. He said he was killing himself to make weight. Looked very sharp against Luis Collazo. And to me, it would be probably similar to that. You know what I mean? Maybe Josesito Lopez would have a slightly better showing coming forward and maybe landing something. But I see it being pretty much. I would, you know what I mean? I wouldn't put Josesito Lopez leagues above where Luis Collazo was. You know what I mean? They're good little fighters, but they're not necessarily going to be the top of the crop. You know what I mean? The cream of the crop, the top at welterweight. And that's just my personal opinion. So Keith Thurman, much better fight for Amir Khan. Much more competitive. And it's a really good stylistic matchup. Like I said, you got the speed with a possible shaky chin versus brute force and less experience. You know what I mean? That's a good combination to me. That's a good combination for a welterweight fight. And to me, the winner of that really deserves that primetime fight with Marquez, that primetime fight with Pacquiao, that primetime fight with Mayweather, because they will have at that point earned it. Beating Julio Diaz, to me, doesn't warrant a Mayweather fight or a Pacquiao fight. It just doesn't. You know what I mean? Beating Josesito Lopez, beating Julio Diaz for Amir Khan, or beating Luis Collazo at that point in Collazo's career, it doesn't warrant those mega fights. You know what I mean? Because those guys aren't even at the top of the totem pole, if you will. And to me, beating even though Sean Porter just took a loss, if Amir Khan were to go in there and then just do what he did to Collazo against Sean Porter, I would give him much more credit than beating Josesito Lopez and for beating like Julio Diaz. Same thing with Keith Thurman's last two opponents. If Keith Thurman went in there with Sean Porter, who just took a loss, and he destroyed him or knocked him out, I'd give him way more credit than beating Jesus Soto Caras or beating Julio Diaz. You know what I mean? And that's a guy who's coming off a loss, and I realize that. But I also realize that Sean Porter has good conditioning. He's athletic. He has a style that's could be an irritant. You know what I mean? If someone's just constantly staying on top of you, constantly bringing you pressure, plus he has some power. And it looks like his chin is pretty solid when he was fighting Kell Brook, because he didn't get knocked out. It looked like he got buzzed a couple of times, but he didn't get actually knocked out. So to me, Sean Porter is still a cut above like a Julio Diaz, Soto Caras, to the point where even after a defeat, beating Thurman or beating beating Porter is still more of an accolade to catapult them to those bigger fights. That's my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. What do you want to see Amir Khan fight next? Do you want to see him fight Robert Guerrero? I think that's a better fight. Devin Alexander? Or do you want to see him fight Josesito Lopez, Keith Thurman, Kell Brook? Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.